As I briefly touched on, I had kind of predicted that the Maidan would come by the end of 2013 based on what I'd seen when I traveled the entire country. And I said that if there would be a Maidan, there would be an war that would lead after that. It wouldn't just be like the Orange Revolution. We have a change of power and then a shift. And when I thought of war, when I thought of a country that doesn't have an established veteran support structure, one of the things that was very alarming for me was the fact that Ukraine doesn't have a Ministry of Veterans Affairs. That if not for the volunteers, if not for the millions of dollars from volunteers from all over the world and within Ukraine, and the tireless, countless hours of work to support the warfighter in the East, I feel that the war would have taken a much more dark, drastic result than current. And when I hear that a Ukrainian soldier who suffers an amputation and comes back to home, wherever that may be in Ukraine, doesn't have a process for getting a prosthetic. The only way they have a process for that is if you have organizations, which there are many, and there are very many excellent organizations that are working tirelessly to make sure that veterans' needs are provided for. But if they don't have that, then it's just simply not going to happen. And right now, Ukraine has a unique opportunity to create a ministry of Veterans Affairs that would actually do something for the veterans and build it in the wake of this new post-Maidan Ukraine, to make this Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And if they fail, they cannot blame their Soviet predecessors. They can only blame themselves. But to fail is even more disastrous than to simply to not do the result, because you are failing not only just in developing a new ministry, you're failing thousands upon thousands of veterans who drastically need this support. So there are countless organizations across Ukraine and in other countries, mainly from the diaspora, that are doing great, great things. And our organization, as you know, does a lot of projects for veterans. And we have partnered up with several other organizations in other countries, as well as in Ukraine. One of them is a Ukrainian organization, a foundation based in Lviv that has 1,000+ medical health professionals that are all over Ukraine and able to give services to veterans. Because when they leave the war zone here, they don't always leave the war zone mentally. And it's a lot of adaptation. It's difficult. It's very difficult. And I saw that in America, we have a crisis. And I felt that if a war is to come, that the war against suicide, the war for veterans' rights, people who gave up their life, their time, sacrificed so much time away from their families, and many who've made the ultimate sacrifice for their country that they love, that I love too, deserve better than that. So we owe it to them not to just say, let's make a reform, let's build a ministry, let's do something right. No, let's follow through with that. So familiarize yourself with other organizations in other countries that are doing it right currently. I would say the Americans are leading the way, since we have had a greater history of war in our history more recently than other nations. The British are excellent as well. And the other allies, the Australians and European allies and NATO allies, and work with them to develop this structure. And then from that structure, put a series of accountable milestones where they can meet. The answer is not purely in the government. The answer is definitely not only in the NGO sphere. It is a marrying of the two. But we have a problem in Ukraine with trust between the government and the people, between the government entities, organizations, and the non-government organizations. And what we try to seek to do in our organization is bring them together to the table, the people who are focusing on helping with rehabilitation, physically and mentally, find jobs, support families, education, legal support, find work, starting your own business, that they work together in harmony and keep each other accountable in those areas. And we've been working for the past 2+ years with international organizations and how to roadmap and meet objectives to combat veteran suicide. And I'm pleased to announce that we have a lot of international support right now to develop a network, not just a crisis hotline, but to develop as well a response, a crisis response, what to do in the situation, to provide better resources and education to people and to connect people. Because this is not a Ukrainian problem with veteran crisis. It is a human problem. It happens in every country that has wars. It's not a new problem. And we don't need to look for a new solution. We can use the ones that currently work and improve them and tailor them to make them work better in Ukraine.